batting .274, 5 homers, 40 RBIs. First pitch, he takes outside from Figueroa, 1 ball and no strikes. Now, Figueroa makes his second start at the major league level for the Mets this year. He lost to the Milwaukee Brewers 4-2 back on April the 19th. The outfield straight away, the 1-0 pitch, and that's lined to center field, a base hit. Around third is Drew. He's heading home. Pagan up with it. He fires towards the plate. It's cut off by the first baseman Murphy behind the mound. Holding it first with an RBI single is Gerardo Parra, and just like that, 4 pitches into the game, the Diamondbacks have a 1-0 lead. For Parra, his 41st run batted in. And once again, Nelson Figueroa, who previously, I guess, has been best described, as have many over the years, as a 4A player. In other words, he's better than your average AAA player, but generally not good enough to stick around for any length of time at the major league level. Finding out things are a whole lot different here than they were with Buffalo, where he was pitching just great. Upton, the batter, swings and misses. Running from first is Parra. He is thrown out by Omir Santos. Cora, the shortstop, applies the tag. 2-6 on the caught stealing, 1 man away.
Well, I'll tell you, when that happens, that is such a huge pickup for Nelson Figueroa that Santos could throw him out. And instead of an inning that could totally unfold before your very eyes, now he's got a chance to go back to the full windup. He's got his feet wet, and he can go get the next 2 outs.
The 0-1 on the way, and a breaking ball fouled into the seats on the second deck behind home plate. The count, no balls and 2 strikes to Justin Upton.
He's not going to get 2 outs the easy way if he hangs another breaking ball like that, though. That pitch was up. Slider right out over the center of the plate.
Well, Figueroa, over his last 10 starts for Buffalo, didn't make too many mistakes. 7-1 with a 1.51 earned run average. The 0-2, and a slider taken off the plate, low outside. And the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes on Upton, batting an even 300. 20 home runs, 65 runs batted in, great speed, but a high strikeout performer, as is the entire Diamondback roster. 1-2 pitch on the way. Breaking ball hit on the ground to third. Grabbed at the shoe tops by Wright. Overhands to first in time. 2 men away. So Upton grounds out. 2 out, nobody on, a run in. And Mark Reynolds, the third baseman, coming up. Reynolds had yesterday off. A.J. Hinch, the manager of the Diamondbacks, said it was a scheduled day off. Although he's been banged up a little bit, most notably one of his hands. And it had nothing to do with that diving airborne catch that he made when he landed chest first right onto the concrete lip above the tarp a couple of nights ago. It was just a scheduled day off yesterday, and he hits the first pitch deep to left center field. This one's gone a long way. A home run deep into the lower left field stands to the right of the 384 mark for Reynolds, his 31st home run of the year, and the Diamondbacks have a 2-0 lead. Well, if his hand is sore, it's certainly not affecting his swing.
Yeah, it's his right hand. It happened right after the All-Star break against San Francisco. And I think he's just teasing everybody by saying that story, because there is nothing that could possibly be hurting a man who could hit a ball that far.
Well, he had another long home run after he made that great diving catch and was shaken up the other night. Miguel Montero, left-hand hitter, takes a fastball outside 1-0.
He's the old home run hitter that once he hits it, it's a no-doubter. You just wonder how far it will go.
The 1-0 on the way, and it's fouled straight back, 1-1. You know, he reminds me of as a hitter, not in other facets of his game necessarily, because Reynolds runs way better than the guy I'm going to bring up, Harmon Killebrew. I mean, he's got Harmon Killebrew power. His swing reminds me of him a little bit. 1-1 curveball to Montero, in for a called strike, 1-2. Killebrew couldn't run a lick. Reynolds has 19 stolen bases. But he also has 31 home runs, and the Diamondbacks have a 2-0 lead. Now the 1-2 pitch, and a fastball outside to Montero, 2-2. Montero batting .290 with 10 homers, 32 runs batted in. 4 for 10 with a home run in this series. Here's the 2-2. Fastball fouled back to the screen, and that was a hittable pitch in an area where Figueroa didn't want to throw it. And Montero, even though he got a piece of it, just missed it. So 2-2 on Miguel Montero, with Ryan Roberts, the second baseman, on deck. Dan Herron, the Diamondback starter, already with a 2-0 lead. And now Figueroa's 2-2 pitch is hit in the air to deep right field. This one's headed towards the Throgs Neck Bridge. A long home run for Miguel Montero. He actually hit it onto the bridge in right center field to the left of the Pepsi porch. Montero's 11th home run of the year, and they're just teeing off on Nelson Figueroa here in the first inning. It's 3-0 Arizona.
That was back in that area where Adam Dunn hit a home run earlier this year for the Washington Nationals. And I would say right now that Ryan Roberts is going to have to be moved back off the plate. Figueroa, a veteran, has let these guys take swings from the heels in the first 5 at-bats tonight.
Back-to-back long homers by Reynolds and Montero. And boy, you make a great point about Roberts. Let's see if he gets dusted a little. Nope, fastball right over the plate, a little bit up, and he fouls it straight back, 0-1. Well, remember the pitch that I mentioned Montero just fouled back and how Figueroa didn't want to go in there again, same spot? Well, he did, and Montero showed him what he could do with it. 3-0 Arizona. A loud first inning. The 0-1 fastball swung on and missed. No balls, 2 strikes.
Why would you let this guy take the 2 swings he's just taken? Nelson Figueroa is a guy who's been around the block, and he knows what it's like to get bullied at the end of the block. He's getting bullied right now.
The 0-2 and a fastball lined to left center. That's a base hit headed towards the gap. Pagan backhanded in the alley. A big turn at first by Roberts, but he'll hold with a well hit 2-out single. 5 hits in the inning for the Diamondbacks. Only 6 Diamondbacks have batted because of the caught stealing with Gerardo Parra being thrown out by Omir Santos. Well, the Diamondback to be retired by Figueroa, justing up the new ground to the third. So now John Whitesell, a power-hitting first baseman, will try his luck against Figueroa.
And Figueroa is missing up to every hitter. The target has been established down by Omir Santos. Every time he is reaching up, and every time the hitter's hitting it.
First pitch to the left-hand batter, and a breaking ball high, 1-0. Whitesell batting just .205. He doesn't have a homer. He has 11 runs batted in, but he's got terrific power. Kid out of Loyola Marymount University. Had a big year in AAA last year. 1-0 pitch and a changeup low outside. 2 balls, no strikes. Well, nothing's doing in the Mets bullpen. Remember, the Mets are 1 short on the pen to begin with, simply because they sent Pat Mish out to make room for Figueroa on the roster. Now the 2-0 pitch, and a fastball swung on and missed 2-1. The Mets have used Tim Redding in each of the last 2 games, so if the Mets were to need a long man, probably be Brian Stokes tonight. Stokes didn't work yesterday, but he worked 2/3 of an inning on Saturday and 2/3 on Friday. Now the 2-1 pitch and a fastball outside, ball 3. Before the game, Jerry Manuel was saying he hoped to get 110, 115 pitches out of Figueroa because he's been pitching in rotation and he's stretched out. But he also realizes that he may have to push him a little farther than he would ordinarily. 3-1 pitch and a changeup in for a called strike, full count. Because the Mets bullpen is a little short-handed tonight. Now, I said if the teams are trading runs, that'd be a different story. If the Mets are showing offensive life, then if he had to get Figueroa out of there early, he would. So an automatic start for Roberts. He goes, and the pitch is low, ball 4. Figueroa missing with a fastball. Runners at first and second, 2 men out. And the number 8 hitter, Chris Young, will be the hitter. And the ovation that you might hear, albeit a sarcastic one, is for Dan Wharton, the pitching coach, who has to make a first-inning trip to the mound.
With only 2 outs. I mean, it's just so frustrating because the Mets really put Nelson Figueroa in this position. I guess in a way you could say they were rewarding him for what he's done over his last 10 starts. That's really not it. They wanted to hand him the baseball because they knew how difficult the task would be tonight against Dan Herron. He's not going to be out there and being a sacrificial lamb. They need to win ball games, and they felt he gave them the best opportunity, and that's why they brought him up. And it's a disappointing start for a veteran who you thought you could count on.
Well, Figueroa is going to try to make sure now that Herron doesn't bat before he pitches, because he's on deck as Chris Young steps in, and he swings and misses strike 1 as he was beaten by an 89-mile-an-hour fastball. But Young's been getting beat by everything lately. His average down to 197, 6 homers, 26 RBIs. Guy who signed for 4 more years. Right-hand batter, now the 0-1. And a fastball hit hard but foul down the third baseline. Well, he made great contact, but is behind in the count 0-2.
How many more hard, vicious swings does one have to see in the first inning before you start just moving them off the plate? I don't mean hit them. Move them off the plate. They're way too comfortable here.
Yep, I couldn't agree with you more. And the point you made about maybe Roberts needing to experience some of that never materialized after the back-to-back long homers by Reynolds and Montero. So it'll be an 0-2 pitch to Young and a slider outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, about those 110, 115 pitches, they're not all going to come in the first inning, but it's starting to feel like they could. The next pitch Figueroa throws will be his 28th. Runners lead, second and first. The 1-2 to Young. Popped up. It should end the inning. Towards shortstop. Alex Cora calling on the dirt. Makes the catch. And that finally retires the side. 8 men come to bat. The Diamondbacks scored 3 runs on 5 hits, and everything was hit hard. No errors, 2 men left. Middle of the first, Arizona 3. The Mets coming up on the WFAN Mets Radio Network.
Sheffield's first start since the 17th of July when he came up with that hamstring cramp in Atlanta. Still leads the team in home runs, and the Mets hope his bat can make the difference tonight against Dan Herron and his 2.19 ERA.
Well, he's been unbelievable. Like I said before, his last 4 years coming into this year, he's won 59 ball games. And look at the walks to strikeouts ratio, Keith.
And look at this. Boy, oh boy, that's just dominance.
The last time a major league pitcher for a full season held both lefties and righties under 200, Johan Santana, 2004. Here's Angel Pagan leading off as the Mets try and come right back. Pagan 2 for 12 in this series, including the game-winning grand slam in the Saturday night game. Takes a fastball for a strike, 1-1.
And you see the overhead camera. I like that shot. The corners are in, respecting the bunt. I never like to play in with a left-hand hitter on a bunt with a right-hand pitcher because 99 out of 100 times, Gary, they're going to bunt down the third base line. I would always play in, and then as the pitcher went into his windup or began to throw home, I would back off and play deeper to cover more ground.
And is that because it's a harder bunt, isn't it, for the left-hander to bring that ball with him to first base?
Cracked into right field and a base hit for Pagan to start the Mets off. So Pagan with a leadoff single.
And your Ford Diamondback defense. And you can see Mark Reynolds, 17 errors, most in the major leagues for third baseman. He made one here. He made up for it with that great pop up he caught off the bat of Murphy yesterday. But boy, the first game he dropped a pop up in the 9th inning that was almost cost Arizona the ball game.
Here's Castillo, 2 for 12 in this series, and he takes a strike on the inside edge. By the way, if Dan Herron gets that inside corner call all night, it's going to be a tough night.
Yes. Do you notice how he put a little something extra on it too?
Pagan takes off. Montero with the throw, not in time. Pagan with his 8th stolen base of the year.
Nice job, a jump, excuse me, by Pagan.
You know, Keith, the one thing you have to remember is that this Mets team, because they don't have a lot of power, even though they're down 3-0, a lot of teams would not run hoping for a big hit. They've got to continue to run because that's a big part of their offense.
Absolutely.
And Herron is a guy who has not held runners well. That's 12 steals and 13 tries with Herron on the mound.
Oh boy.
I would assume he was taking all the way, because a bunt in that spot would have been a terrible play.
And that was a strike, wasn't it?
Jim Wolf is having a little trouble here early. That ball's really high down the middle.
Please.
Come on.
That's got plate.
That's not a strike. You don't have a chance.
Oh, my goodness.
Wolf's supposed to be a pitcher's umpire. His brother's a pitcher. Randy Wolf, of course, is his brother. Why has Castillo bunting down by 3 runs in the first inning? How is that possible?
I don't think he's getting a bunt sign done.
Isn't there a no bunt sign?
Yeah, that's what you'd like to see here, right? Need some runs.
I mean, you want to bunt for a hit, that's one thing, but sacrificing in this spot, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, we've seen Lowy do it a lot, take deep in the count.
Pushes a bunt foul on 3-1.
Looked like he was trying to push that ball past Mark Reynolds.
I don't understand it. You got a red hot Louis with the bat and 3-1 count. I want Louis swinging the bat. There's Jerry's poker face.
Yeah, look at the Castillo batting second. Big difference in the Mets' winning percentage.
Hops one up into shallow left center, angling in his power to grab it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Louis bunting in the first inning of a scoreless game. It just seems that down by 3 runs, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, to me, I mean, what does he think, Keith? That he's going to bunt for a base hit? If he doesn't get it, then there's 1 out and a runner on third.
I originally thought that he was doing it to draw the infield in and push him by. Then try to slap one between into left field, but he tried to bunt 3-1.
Wasn't like he was disguising.
No.
Swearing as though he was sacrificing. So here's David Wright.
We get those official scores to change how they rule those little bunts. Will stop that play immediately.
David had his 11-game hitting streak stopped last night, and he drives one to short right and drew for the second out. And Pagan gets back to the bag.
Nice base running by Pagan right there, not getting doubled off. Knowing where everybody's positioned. It's right at the shortstop. Watch Pagan. Never even broke. Good base running.
And good positioning, I think, by the Diamondbacks. Drew was playing a little to pull. Second baseman Roberts was keeping Pagan close, and the ball right at him.
So Pagan still at second with 2 out, and now Gary Sheffield. Sheff came off the bench yesterday, hit 2 bullets, and was 0 for 2 in his first game back from the disabled list. Hitting a .283 on the year, 10 home runs to lead the team. And he takes a breaking ball for a strike from Herron. Sheffield last started on the 17th of July. That's 17 days ago. That was in Atlanta, where he hurt himself in the outfield.
Herron was one of those guys drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals. He was moved in the Mark Mulder trade and then moved again for tons of bodies when he came over to Arizona, and Arizona sent a lot of their prospects back over to the Oakland Athletics.
Bouncing ball for Drew to handle. And Sheffield retired to end the inning. So a good start to the inning for Pagan, but the Mets can't bring him around. Still 3-0 Arizona. Follow the Mets on your phone and iPod Touch with MLB.com at Bat 2009, featuring play-by-play video highlights and live audio broadcasts. Visit Mets.com on your iPhone or iPod Touch to purchase. Dan Herron leads off the second inning against Nelson Figueroa.
No slouch with the bat, hitting .261 this year with a home run.
12 hits for Herron, and he hits this one to left center field. Ranging over is Pagan deep in the gap to run it down. One away. I believe I said, going to break in the last inning, that Reynolds and Montero had the first back-to-back home runs in the history of Citi Field. I was in error.
Okay.
Because earlier this year, Ryan Howard and Raul Ibanez.
Yes. That doesn't happen very often, Gary.
Well, there's Kirk Gibson, coach for these Diamondbacks. Hit that big home run against us in '88, RJ, right here. About here.
How about the catch he made at Shea down the left field line?
Is that a fine? Because he said it was right here.
Absolutely.
That's right. Well, across the parking lot.
Well, we have a little problem with that. Maybe we'll talk about that later.
Trying to weasel out.
Stephen Drew doubled to left and scored in the first inning.
You know, I wonder how unusual, not unusual, but it's got to be difficult that Kirk Gibson had a very close relationship with Bob Melvin. He was not only his bench coach, but kind of his attitude coach for these young players, making sure that they were playing hard, running the ball out, and now has to be that same kind of person for a new manager.
I don't think it matters to Kirk, do you?
Look, it's weird, though. I think, like, for trying to remember when I was a former player, it's always strange when a guy comes from the front office down. It's a kind of a weird thing. It's like, oh, those are the guys that have been talking about us all year. Now he's down here.
Well, there's no question there were a lot of, I don't want to say hurt feelings, but strange feelings in that Diamondbacks clubhouse when Hinch was first named the manager, because that is a rather unusual move, a strange career track for a guy who's never coached or managed. Curveball just missed. 3-2 now to Turner. I mean, normally once you get on that front office track, you stay there, because people had always talked about AJ as a future general manager, and in some quarters it's believed that that's still his career track. Bounce to the right side and a big hop for Castillo. Drew retired, 2 out.
Well, Josh Burns, the general manager, is very young himself, so he tried to attract a lot of young talent that had playing time. Jerry DiPoto, of course, is another guy they talk about as being a future general manager.
I had just the opposite experience where Whitey Herzog came over and we were going nowhere. He fired Ken Boyer. And then Whitey watched our team for around 2 weeks and then had Red Shanges take over the managing job the rest of the year. And Whitey went up as general manager, went up and watched from above.
Of course, Whitey, before he became a big league manager, was in the Mets organization as their farm director there, what would now be called vice president of player development.
There you go.
0-2 to Parra, who singled and scored in the first inning.
Well, Figueroa's made a little bit of an adjustment now. He's thrown some more breaking balls early in the count, and if you watched on that at-bat to Stephen Drew, threw one right at his ankles, made him move his feet. That's a good move from Nelson.
Helping away with the fastball, 1-2.
And that was 1980 when Whitey took over, and we had Leon Bull Durham, who was also on the team at that time, first baseman. I wasn't sure whether I was going to go.
David Wright can't get to that skidder, and it rolls toward the line. Big turn for Parra. He's going to try for 2. Sheffield with the throw. Safe. It's a double for Gerardo Parra. He's now 2 for 2.
Well, nice hustle. You see David right there, right down the line, and not hit very hard. Good hustle by Parra, and not a great tag by Castillo. Kind of a sweep. A sweeping tag. I know his back's to the play, but you got time to look back before the throw's coming in to see where that runner is, and you know if it's going to be close or not.
So a 2-out double for Parra. And now Justin Upton, who grounded out to third base his first time up. 6 hits now for the Diamondbacks, and the first pitch slider outside. Really early in the game, and Parra's uniform is very dirty.
Well, I mean, it's easier to say when the starting pitcher for your team has come out and struggled a little bit. But I will say one thing: this Diamondback team has come to play, haven't they? I mean, good hustle by Parra.
Ripped into left field, a base hit for Upton. Parra turns third, being waved home. Sheffield's throw to the plate on one hop can't be handled by Santos. The run is in, and down to second is Upton, and that makes it 4-0 Arizona.
Well, this ball's ripped, and Chip Hale, the third base coach for Arizona, knows Sheffield not the strongest of arms, although this was a pretty strong throw in, but it was an in-between hop. If it's a one-hop throw, Potter's out, but they took the chance with 2 outs, forced the good throw, and a nice play.
Let me ask you a question, Keith. Do you think that a catcher wearing a mask in that spot has a harder time judging that hop and seeing it and making that catch than a catcher who had his mask off?
One thing I can see is maybe one of the bars where you might get in the way. You want to take off your mask. I don't think it has. I mean, that's a tough chance right there for a catcher.
The argument is that you hear all the time from the people who teach catching is that they spent the whole game catching pitches. But the problem is I don't buy it because the ball is bouncing. There's not many times that you have to play a bouncing ball with your mask on and catch it. You block it. So that's the thing I would like these catchers to take their mask off. I know also there's the physical risk of being run over, but no one runs anyone over anyway. Right. So what's the difference? That's the thing. I mean, it used to be guys would take off their mask and they get run over. Now they leave the mask on and they never get run over. And I'm not saying that Santos should have caught that ball. No, no. Chance. I'm just saying that it's got to make it that much harder to pick up a hop when you've got those bars of the mask to deal with. The only thing that maybe Santos could have done, Wolfman might take another peek at it here, if Reynolds doesn't hit another ball 550 feet. I mean, unbelievable in this series. 2-2 to Reynolds. A hit spun to center field, and that's hit well. Chasing Pagan back, looking up, and it's out of here. Mark Reynolds is putting on a show. Another long home run, his 4th of the series, his 32nd of the year.
I have not seen someone have a series like this in a long, long time.
In a pitcher's ballpark, he's making it look like a bandbox.
I'm speechless, and I'm not supposed to be speechless.
6-0 Arizona.
Making a bid to be the new Pat Burrell.
Ready? Oh, he's putting the pressure on Pujols, who has been slumping since the All-Star break. He's now just 2 behind. And now Miguel Montero, who followed Reynolds' first home run of the night with one of his own, comes up for the second time. A nightmare for Nelson Figueroa, and Tim Redding up quickly in the bullpen as Montero has his second hit of the night. Well, Figueroa retired the first 2 hitters here in the second inning, but then Parra with the hustle double. Upton drove him home. Reynolds a long home run. And now Montero a base hit, and it's getting late early for Nelson Figueroa.
What you say here. I think you're Dan Warthen, right? You're coming out and trying to get Redding a little more time. These are the times where you judge what you can say as a pitching coach. I mean, it's nice and easy to go out there when someone's throwing a gem, but here he's got a pitcher on the ropes, trying to keep him in the ball game, trying to keep him from having his dauber down. Tough days.
Ryan Roberts will try and keep the inning going for Arizona. For Mark Reynolds, his 3rd multiple home run game this season. He did it at Florida in May, he did it at home against Texas in June, and now he's done it at Citi Field in the first 2 innings.
This is a 2-out rally here, too, as Figueroa got the first 2 hitters out easily. Double, single, home run, single.
I think when Nelson goes back over this game and looks at the tape at some point, almost all of his mistakes have been up in the strike zone. And to me, when a guy is up in the strike zone who is a sinker ball pitcher, a control pitcher, it tells me that he's just trying to overthrow a little bit. And I think that's the case here.
Curveball line to left field. That's a base hit for Roberts. Montero will pull in at second. 5 straight 2-out hits for the Diamondbacks, and they now have 10 hits off Figueroa in an inning and 2/3.
I think it's another hanger, Ronnie.
Yeah, just right over the middle of the strike zone. Roberts stays back pretty good.
Jerry Manuel was asked before the game about his lack of a long man tonight, and he said, well, if the game's lopsided, we may just have to let him stay out there. Well, right now, letting him stay out there borders on punishment.
Cruelty.
Well, it's a cool game.
It is. It is. See, sometimes you have to, you know, when you're brought up from AAA for this spot start, and when you have, let's not forget, 2 pitchers who threw over 100 pitches the last 2 games and only went 5 innings, sometimes you got to let him go. But Jerry is going to err on the side of caution here and come get Nelson.
Well, he'll bring in Redding. Redding, though, will be pitching for the 3rd straight day, so there's only so far that he'll be able to go in long relief. A very rough return to the big leagues for Nelson Figueroa. A storybook return last year, not so. Well, we'll see how Tim Redding handles pitching for the 3rd consecutive day.
You know, it's admirable, though, after losing his spot in the rotation, that he usually what happens before a game, you'll check with all your relievers to see who's ready to go, who's not. And Redding, of course, wants the ball as many times as he can, maybe get back in that rotation.
Well, he's their only real long man right now, and you need someone to gobble up some middle innings.
That's designated Elmer DeCins for assignment earlier in the week. He just cleared today and accepted an assignment to Buffalo. Pat Mish was designated for assignment after the game last night to make room for Figueroa, and that leaves Redding as the only long man in a 7-man bullpen. Josh Whitesell walked his first time up, and he takes a big rip and fouls it back. The swings that the Diamondbacks have taken tonight have just been
vicious,
of the highest order.
Vicious. Sid Vicious.
Nancy. Johnny Rotten. 2-1 to Whitesell. Figueroa threw 53 pitches in an inning and 2/3, allowed 10 hits, a walk, 3 home runs, 6 runs so far, and responsible for 2 more on base.
I tell you what, Gary, if I was playing in this game, one of several batters, I would be up there in my very agile stance because I'd be ready to get flipped.
Yes.
Or drilled.
Have you seen that happen?
No, it doesn't happen
today's
today.
game?
It doesn't happen in today's game.
And Whitesell takes ball 4, and the bases are loaded. So Josh Whitesell, hitting all 205, has been up twice and walked both times.
Well, I think that Chris Young has been looking so badly at the plate, coming into this game hitting 197. And back in the first inning, he left the same situation, runners on first and second, and ended the inning. But he just looks lost up there.
Well, the Diamondbacks sent 8 men to the plate in the first inning. They've now sent 9 men to the plate in the second inning. Young is 0 for his last 15. Bases loaded, 2 out, and he hits one in the air along the left field line. Sheffield watching it back toward the corner, and it's well fouled.
Ball is carrying. I mean, that looked like a pop-up off the bat, and that almost had 330 distance, didn't it? Nice catch. Yeah, a little wind blowing out.
Well, this entire homestand,
yes,
though, the
right.
ball is carried much better than at any time we've seen it at Citi Field. That one's fouled off the right side. So clearly the humidity and the warmer weather has had some kind of an impact.
It's going to be hard to gauge, right? I mean, this is the first month back-to-back, June and July, that there has not been one day in New York that it reached the 90s. Ever.
I thought the planet was warming.
Oh, and 2 to Young. Well, you know, we have a member of our crew that pays very close attention to the weather. And he says it's only the second time in 140 years that the temperature has reached 90 in New York.
Well, we got Clouds Cohen. What are we going to go? Greg Picker. We got to get him a name.
Drop the clouds on Gary.
Storm. Popped that one out of play.
Drop the clouds on him.
There are the clouds.
There we go.
No chance of rain tonight, by the way. Much as Nelson Figueroa might like a monsoon right about now. And Young chases a slider out of the strike zone to put a merciful end to the inning. Mark Reynolds crushing his second of the night, his 4th of the series, putting an early end to Nelson Figueroa's evening. That's a lot of catching up to do, down 6-0. I think he won 14 and had 13 walks.
That's ridiculous. Beautiful.
Murphy rips one foul down the right field side. 1-2. Well, Dan Herron didn't get a whole lot of run support early in the season. He's gotten his share tonight already.
And if you think that this veteran right-hander who's on top of his game and is one of the, I think, 3, 4, 5 guys that is racing for the Cy Young is going to throw all fastballs, think again. He's going to mix up his pitches, going to throw that fork ball, curve ball, and there a little breaking pitch to get Murphy out.
Chris Young with the grab to retire Murphy for the first out. Well, what might help Herron, I mean, if all things stay the same way they are now as far as the Cy Young is concerned, you got 2 guys in one town who may well split the vote.
Yes.
Lincecum and Kane, who to me are probably the 2 front runners for the Cy Young.
I believe so. I think that Lincecum is #1, even though Kane has pitched equally as well. But Lincecum gets the strikeouts, and also he is the reigning champion. You got to knock him off the block.
Jeff Francoeur, first pitch swinging, grounds one out to Drew for the second out. Well, Herron probably should have a lot more wins. Kane and Lincecum have each won 12. Kane is pitching tonight in Houston. And there are some of the other candidates. Carpenter got a late start, but he's pitched as well as anybody since he came off the disabled list.
Well, a little bit under 60 games left. What they got, around 11, 12 starts left, Ron?
Look at all the ERAs, all under 3, and then minuscule for Mr. Carpenter, Kane, and Lincecum. Oh, Herron, too. We're going to drop him in there.
2 out and nobody on. Here's Alex Cora, and he takes a strike.
And this is in a day and age where when you look at starting pitchers, it's very common to see a guy have a 4.5, almost 5 ERA and just stay in that rotation like there's no problem.
Cora serves one out to left, but Parra playing shallow, right where he should be. It's a quick inning for Herron. 7 pitches thrown, 6-0 Diamondbacks. Third inning, Tim Redding, who came on in long relief in the second, stays out there for the third, and Dan Herron gets his second turn at bat in the third inning. Flied out his first time up. Diamondbacks with 3 in the first, 3 in the second, each inning highlighted by a Mark Reynolds home run.
Well, we mentioned in Herron's first at bat, this guy's a good hitting pitcher. He's very athletic.
Well, he's an All-American at Pepperdine, and I still ask the question, I don't know how you go to college in Pepperdine, which is in Malibu, overlooking the water, but he's an All-American pitcher and played as a designated hitter also.
In the air to right field, and Jeff Francoeur is there. 1 away. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin, where you been?
Well, I'm out here in the picnic area. I had some fries. They're pretty good. Figured I'd check in and see how you guys are doing. Good news today for Carlos Beltran. He was out in center field and he shagged about 35 flies. He really tested the knees. He kind of planted and moved back and forth and just tried to test it out a little bit. And the way he described it, he said he felt pain on probably 2 of those. He said, of course, a month and a half ago would have been pain on every single one of them. When the Mets go to San Diego, he's going to go to Port St. Lucie. I asked him if there's any scenario in his head that he would be done for the year, and he said there's no chance. He said, I don't know when, hopefully in a couple weeks, but I definitely will be back at some point. His other rehab lasts for about 2 hours a day. He was in the underwater treadmill they have here at Citi Field. He said he's running up to about 6 miles an hour, which he considered good. And, you know, he touched on something with me, which we touched on with J.J. Putz, I'd say about a month ago, guys. The Mets players are home rehabbing. And when the Mets are home, they're here, but they don't travel with them on the road. And he said, well, I get here early in order to avoid and get out of the way of everybody else. And I just find it fascinating that here are these stars in the DL, and they purposely get here early, get their work done, and get out of the way. As Carlos told me, you know, I just don't want to be in the cage getting in the way of David Wright and Jeff Francoeur as they prepare for the game. I'm not playing in the game. So just really a neat take on these stars who are really in the background of this team. Guys?
It's got to be awfully difficult when you're not playing and not contributing and watching your team struggle to feel as though you're part of the team. Stephen Drew lines one into right field, and that'll fall in for a base hit. Drew's second hit in the first 3 innings of the game. Well, there's other rehab news for the Mets today. Carlos Delgado went outside and hit for the first time today during batting practice. And even further along in his comeback, Billy Wagner made his second rehab appearance in a Gulf Coast League game today. 8 pitches, a 1-2-3 inning, 2 fly balls and a pop-up. So Billy certainly looks as though he is headed in the right direction, and quickly.
Well, you know, 8 pitches is hard to judge, but still, you know, physically, just for Billy to be out there, I think it's just a great sign.
Well, wasn't it always difficult with that kind of surgery, Ronnie, to come back, you throw once, and then you have X amount of days off?
Parra drills one down the right field line, and that's a fair ball bouncing to the wall. Drew heads for third. It'll be held up there. Francoeur's throw to second. Nobody covering there, and Corey got over to make sure nothing worse happened. Parra is 3 for 3, a single and 2 doubles, and we're only in the 3rd inning.
Well, tables are set for the big guys now. Fastball in, it was in, but he just turned on it. Just covered it.
That was an interesting choice here by Francoeur, wasn't it? I mean, even though one hopped the wall, this ball has to come into Castillo, the cutoff man. That ball could have been launched into left field.
He's got to go throw up, down the line for the cutoff man. The most important runner is the advanced runner.
So now Upton with second and third and 1 out. He singled in a run his last time up. And the slider off the plate for ball 1.
Well, if you don't do enough pitching inside, then even though sometimes you hit your spot in this IOTV pitch differential, you see nice swings putting on good pitches. That's something you don't like to see.
Upton bloops one the other way, and that falls just foul. Nice one-hand grab by Chad in the ball boy chair.
Chad is getting lots of airtime, and deservedly so.
He's going to have to start getting checks.
You know what I mean? I guess I'm not explaining myself. If you don't make the hitters a little bit uncomfortable, then they will start to look comfortable even on your pitches. And if they look comfortable on your pitches, you know what, that means you have no shot.
Well, I think if they're hitting your good pitches, then you got to start worrying. If I got stuff to get people out.
Yeah, agreed. No swing, says Gary Cedarstrom. And it's 2-1 to Upton. 3rd time around the batting order for the Diamondbacks in the 3rd inning of the game. They already have 12 hits, including 3 home runs. Popped a mile high straight up. Santos didn't see it at first, so Murphy comes down to help, and that's the 2nd out. So 2 out in the inning. Well, here is Mark Reynolds, who has certainly had himself a weekend. Friday night, dead central. Saturday out of sight into the second deck.
Wow.
He took yesterday off. It didn't slow him down. He's had 2 at-bats tonight, and he's hit 2 more home runs.
Are they going to pitch around him? We'll see.
He's going to get a first pitch slider, I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you what, 6-0, go after him.
Hit hard right to right to end the inning. Well, he got a fastball. He hit it hard, but David was in the right place to grab it, and Redding able to escape any runs scored in the 3rd inning. Still 6-0 Diamondbacks.
Unbelievable.
13 walks. He won 14 games that year in '94. How many innings did he throw? Couldn't have been much more than 150. Red was a phenomenon. He really was. 177 innings, I'm told. I mean, he threw 95, and he never threw balls.
Yeah.
Here's Omir Santos, who leans out of the way of an inside pitch from Dan Herron. First time anybody's had to lean back tonight.
You know, in regards to Saberhagen, I talked to
Santos hits it to deep left field over the head of Parra and off the base of the wall. Santos going to have to hustle. Here comes Parra's throw to second. Not in time. And Omir's got himself his 10th double of the year.
well, this ball hit too hard. And wisely, Parra just plays it off the wall. And here Jerry's in a bind with the lack of pitching depth in that bullpen, with sending Mitch down and descends. He's got to stick with Redding here.
You know, very interesting in this ballpark. Giveth to taketh away. You have to be sprinting on a line drive to left field because it comes off the wall so quickly. Parra had a shot.
Bunt here. Oh, about that.
Yeah, down by 6 runs. I guess Jerry feels he needs Redding to swing the bat. Either that or he missed a sign.
I would like to peck away and get a run here.
Yeah, I would bunt here and try to get a run without the benefit of base hit.
Now it's 0-2 to Redding.
Pretty wicked breaking ball right here.
These good pitchers, when the pitcher is up and there's a runner in scoring position, they turn it up a notch.
And consider a turn. 3 pitches. Redding down on strikes. First of the night for Herron. So 1 out and a runner at second. Now Angel Pagan, who singled and stole a base in the first inning.
interesting that Jerry decided to bunt there, because I'm just trying to think percentage-wise, what's the chances that Reed gets a hit off Herring? Less than 5%? 3%? You know, that Redding gets a hit off Herring.
1%.
1%.
No, 1% would be 010.
Yeah, well,
it's probably 10%.
10%,
right?
Okay,
Maybe 8, 9, 10%, somewhere in there.
And you know, defensively, Gary, when you put the sacrifice down and it's a 6-0 ball game, you're going to play conservatively defensively.
Sure.
You're not going to take a chance to throw the lead runner out. You're going to go, okay, we got a 6-run lead. We're going to get the sure out at first.
Well, I would go back to what we said in the first inning when Castillo was bunting. With a guy like Herring, I think your only chance to beat him is to have one extraordinary inning.
Yeah.
I think you're going to beat him 1 run at a time when you're down by 6.
Well, what happened to Nelson probably is not going to help what happened to Danny Herring. It's hard to put together 3, 4, 5 hits in a row.
Ran 1 to Pagan, but of course this is the problem with having a team that doesn't have a lot of power. It's hard to come back from big deficits if you don't have anybody who's going to go up there and hit a 3-run home. Three and 1 to Pagan. He hits 1 to center field and hit well. Back goes Young deep in the gap. And he won't get there. It's to the base of the wall. Santos is in. Pagan will easily get 3 bases out of this. His 6th triple. And he gets the Mets on the board. It's now 6-1 Arizona.
Well, he got this pitch up and down the middle. Pagan just all over it, and he just continues his good hitting. And you can see center field right there. Chris Young, who can fly, no shot. This hits off the base of the wall.
Pagan has become a triples machine.
Nobody in the National League has more than 8 triples this season. Pagan's got 6, and he has only had 127 at bats. Now Castillo with the infield back slices 1 foul. So the Mets being handed another run here on a ground ball to a middle infielder.
Well, the defense, you can see in real shallow over here in left field.
Well, he flied to left his first time, and now he's in a 0-2 hole.
And I like Herring. I like what I see from Herring, Ronnie. He's not afraid to throw inside the lefties. He's got a sharp breaking ball.
Well, since 2007, he is right up among the elite in ERA in the major leagues. And Castillo is down on 3 pitches. And that's the 2nd out of the inning.
This is something you very rarely see, and that is the split finger. Just bottom drops out of that pitch from Herring.
And all set up. First pitch, fastball up and in. Second pitch, hard breaking ball down and in. And that sets up the off-speed pitch away. Textbook pitching.
So now David Wright with 2 out and a runner at third. David lined out to short his first time.
He's got the split finger grip right there. And then when he goes to the glove, then he'll decide whether to change or not.
Well, what's the book on David, right, Ronnie?
Yeah. Split finger grip, puts it back in there. No split finger now. Fastball.
In the air to right field, and Upton has plenty of room. That'll do it for the Mets. They do get 1 run back. Santos led off with a double, and Angel Pagan adding to his pile of triples, his 6th of the Field. 6-1 Diamondbacks, who had a field day against Nelson Figueroa, who lasted just an inning and 2/3 in his return. There's your AT&T high-speed pitch for the Diamondbacks starter Dan Herron and the Mets reliever Tim Redding, who starts the 4th inning against Miguel Montero, who's already 2 for 2 in this game. A home run and a single, both pulled to right field.
Well, one thing about Montero that I've watched, he likes to pull and he likes to lift. He doesn't get cheated up there. He is a power hitter, all or nothing type hitter. And you can see playing him pretty much straight up. I just think he's a dead pull hitter.
Has his average up to 296 on the year, and the curveball bounced toward first base where Murphy handles it. 1 away. Got to bring up Ryan Roberts, who's been up twice. Has had a couple of base hits.
Boy. We need a Coors Light close-up on that one.
On his tattoo?
Yes, I'm trying to figure out what it is. It's very elaborate.
It's this one to right field, and Frank Cora is right there. And quickly there are 2 out. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Honda, by Citi, and by AT&T. Your world delivered. Now Josh Whitesell will bat with 2 out and nobody on. Whitesell has walked in both of his plate appearances tonight.
Haha, Pete.
That's longtime head groundskeeper Pete Flynn, who's on the disabled list right now.
Got a bad knee, right?
It's hard to keep a good man down.
Well, he's been a groundskeeper in all 3 of the ballparks that the New York Mets have played in.
He's also been chauffeur to the Stars.
That's right.
Did he,
the Beatles, right?
Did he drive the Beatles back in '65? Curveball to Whitesell for a strike, 1-2.
The boys didn't mind. The Liverpool boys didn't mind a guy from Cork driving them around.
So they got a big kick out of the feet, as just about everybody does. 1-2 from Redding. Fastball struck him out, and so a good inning for Tim Redding as he gets the Diamondbacks 1-2-3. That's his 2nd strikeout. Sheffield coming up.
Frank Cora will be up in this inning for the Mets, and he's as he waits his turn, it's interesting. You know, we've seen him kind of transform a little bit since coming to New York and some of the different things he's done. Obviously, he's still been aggressive, but I think one of the interesting things he's done is when he got here, he went to Dan Worthen and asked for the scouting report on him. And I asked him why, and he said, well, you know, I certainly knew what I had been doing and what I was capable of, and I talked to Hojo and kind of tried to get a plan together. But I really wanted to see what the pitching side thought of me and what other teams thought of me. So Dan showed him the scouting report that the Mets had on Jeff as a Brave, and he said, you know what, it humbled me. You know, I saw things in there that I certainly knew, but a couple of things that I didn't know. But one of the specifics is the fastball inside, which Dan had to attack on the scouting report with that. And Jeff said, really? It just told me that I've got to get back to attacking the fastball, because for me, that's where it all starts. When I do that, I'm not worried about the other pitches. I could adjust the other pitches like he did with the home run on the breaking ball from Garland. So for him, he says that's been the big key. But how about him going to Dan Worthen and asking for the scouting report? One of the keys to his success so far, guys.
Drew ranging up the middle, throws out Sheffield one away. Well, I think it shows a humility in Frank Correa, that he was not afraid to hear what others thought of him in a negative sense.
You know what I like about Frank Correa is that since he's been here, you know, the obvious. He's brought some energy. He's driven in some runs. All the things you'd like to see him do in a physical nature. But you know what? I didn't know that he would take to this city as he has. He really likes playing on this big stage.
Murphy hits it out to left where Parra is there for the second out. And he's made some mechanical adjustments, and he's given credit to Howard Johnson and credit to Gary Sheffield and David Wright, adjusting his top hand, getting his foot down earlier.
He has done that, and he said that what he's benefited from was that there was a predominantly left-hand hitting lineup in Atlanta, and now he has more right-hand hitters here that have stats to back up that he can pick their brain, and they've helped.
I think also with this, you know, coming to New York, not being in Atlanta, not being the chosen one. They've had many right fielders go through Atlanta that tried to replace Dale Murphy, and that's all you hear about is Brad Kaminsky going to be the new Dale Murphy. Is Jeff Francoeur going to be the Dale Murphy? He can just be Jeff Francoeur here.
Wow. Quick
Aaron
work.
gets him on 3 pitches. A 6-pitch inning for Herron, who has his 3rd strikeout. 4 in the books at Citi Field. 6-1 Arizona.
To 1, and the inning was so quick. Last time we started a conversation about Jeff Francoeur, but Danny Herron made quick work of the Mets. Wanted to continue that conversation. Talked about how Francoeur had went to Dan Worthen and asked for his scouting report on him. And I think, Keith, the question I wanted to ask you as a hitter, is there a chance when you have a weakness, as Jeff saw in that scouting report, can you work on it to the point where, since obviously pitchers are going to go to that it becomes your strength? Can that happen?
I think, Kev, that when you're hitting, you know how they pitch you, where they go after you. The most important thing to do is how do they pitch me?
Tough hop for David Wright, and he stays with him and throws that young one away.
How do they pitch me, and more importantly, how do they pitch me when I can hurt them, men on base? And that's the book on you then. And it was always inside to me. I knew that. So I didn't. When I got traded to the Mets, I didn't need to go over to a hitting coach and say, let me see this. What was the scouting reports on me? I knew what they were. So everybody's so involved today in computers and all this analysis. It's just too much. I think the players today have too many people thinking for them as they're coming up and not thinking for themselves. And I think that's a big mistake.
Danny Herron lifts one to deep right field. Frank Kerr going back out of the track to grab it. Long fly ball from Herron for the second out.
Well, Kevin, and also I didn't really address the particular question you asked. Can the weakness become a strength? You don't want to look into your weakness too often. If you're a bad breaking ball hitter, you're not going to want to hit a breaking ball. Most major league hitters like fastballs. If you it got to a point with me. I learned to pull. I came up much like going the opposite field, and I learned to pull as I got more experience and more confident in my abilities. And I learned to look inside. Yes, I did look into my weakness, and I was able to do it I did it with men on base a lot, and I get one pitch out of the box. Fastball in, see you later. Base hit to right field, and you go. The runner scores.
But what you're saying is instead of getting the computer printout that's going to tell you the tendencies of a pitcher throwing in, you had an instinctual feel for when he was going to come inside with a pitch because of the at-bats prior.
Well, it's also, you can go up first pitch and say, okay, I'm going to look first pitch, fastball in. And if I don't get it, I'm taking it.
Right. Well, and that seems to be with Frank Kerr especially, who's such an aggressive hitter and rarely gets to two strikes.
Yeah.
It would seem to me as though he doesn't even have to bother with something that's his weakness, right? Because, he's looking to attack early in the count. Unless he's looking for that pitch, he should just be ignoring it, right?
So his Frank Kerr's approach should be either I'm looking middle in or I'm looking middle away. Because with Frank Kerr, the book on him is up and in and low and away. Breaking balls low and away, fastballs belt high up.
Drew hits the comebacker, and Tim Redding is settling in long relief. Now he's retired 8 in a row. Quite a performance by Redding, working for the third straight day. Halfway through, 6-1 D-backs. Let's see for yourselves. So, at least that gives you a little feel for what goes on a normal day. By the way, Keith.
Yes.
I did get you back.
I know, but I skewered you.
Toward the hole and a base hit for Alex Cora leading off in the 5th inning. I'd like to thank our friends at the Pepsi Party Control for contributing the
they're great.
The T-shirt launcher.
That's right.
That was fun. They told Gary only put 40 pounds of pressure in it. So what did Gary put? 80 pounds.
Always pushing the envelope.
I nearly knocked out a couple of lights here in the booth.
I thought Gary reminded me very much of Charlton Heston there.
I'm sorry, but I'm not accustomed to handling firearms.
You're a natural.
Bobby Parnell up in the Mets bullpen. As Omir Santos bats and Jeremy Reed gets set to hit next. Santos doubled his first time up, and he hits one up the middle, and he's 2 for 2. Well, the Mets trying to fight back against Danny Herron, down 6-1 in the 5th. Five hits in the game now for New York, and now Jeremy Reed will bat for Tim Redding. And kudos for Mr. Redding.
Yes.
An unaccustomed role for him. A guy who's been a starter his whole life. 3rd straight day relieving, and he goes 3 1/3 in relief.
Yeah, he did a nice job for the Mets, eating up some innings, eating up some big outs in today's ball game.
Well, the Mets can sure use a blast right now. Put them right back in this ball game.
By the way, Ronnie,
yes,
your hair looks great.
I know, but I still have a nick and a scar on the right side of my face from Keith with that razor.
So he didn't finish the shave.
Yeah.
Reed takes a breaking ball for a strike. Jeremy pinch hit in the game yesterday and struck out. That's trying to launch an attack against Herron. After falling behind big early, as Reed yanks one up to the promenade section. 0-2. There's a. Do we have a freeze cam on this?
Oh. How about how about the way you're holding my head? It's not like a bowling ball. You don't have a very soft, gentle touch.
The Vulcan mind.
What is that?
It's the Vulcan mind. What was it?
Mind meld.
Yes.
Yes. Reed hanging in there. Cora and Santos with base hits to start the inning.
Mets got to pick up a few here. Chip away.
Good at bat working here for Reed after falling behind 0-2.
Well, Reed's done a nice job all year, hasn't he, pinch hitting?
Angel Pagan, who already has a single and a triple today, waiting on deck.
They're making Herron work here. He's throwing a lot of pitches.
Broken back bloop, and Roberts is there. Infield fly rule called, so the batter is out. One away.
Well, let's see. Look at Gary. Oh, look at the expression on his face.
See, I banked it off the lights and it took a sharp left turn.
Gary, you had a little Hunter S. Thompson look there, to tell you the truth.
Fear and loathing.
There you go.
That was in between innings. Was that during a rain delay?
Yeah.
In between innings. Yeah.
Well, we've had plenty of time with the rain delays this year.
You missed the rain delay yesterday.
I did.
What were you doing while we were waiting here?
It wasn't great weather out east neither. So just chilling, relaxing.
Chilling? That sounds like a Chardonnay.
Well, I might have had a glass of Chardonnay.
Pagan is single to right and triple to the fence in deep center field. He's driven on a run. He's stolen a base today. Up up and away, 1-1.
I'm a sniper.
So you aimed low like you were supposed to. That's a T-shirt coming out of that.
Yep, that was dead. Got him.
Wanted. Like Wyatt Earp on the inside corner of strike 1 and 2.
Notice how every inning now, Herron's not out of this inning. But boy, does he become a different pitcher when he's in a little bit of trouble?
Yeah, and he's been living on the inside corner with the left-handed hitters. Because it sets up that split finger. That's the key. Can't get to that split finger until you do enough inside.
Tries the high fastball there, and it's 2-2.
He wanted that call a little bit up.
Well, Danny Herron came into the season as part of one of the best 1-2 pitching combinations in baseball. But #1 left after opening day, and in fact just today Brandon Webb underwent shoulder surgery, which means he is done for this year. And that presents an interesting dilemma for the Diamondbacks. 3-2 to Pagano has to skip, because Webb has got an $8.5 million option for next year that they have to exercise the week after the World Series. So what do you do?
Well, for me personally, he's done so many great things for the ball club. Their #1 pitcher, Cy Young Award winner, runner-up one season. I think if it's 13, 14 million, you absolutely can't pick it up. But if the doctors say that he has a chance of coming back next season, I think you take a chance.
Boy, it's a hard situation. You don't want to be the general manager.
It's not my money to spend, of course. It's easy for me to say.
And it really is an $8.5 million, because there's a $2 million buyout, so there's a $6.5 million difference in picking up the option. So, yeah, I'm with you. A guy with that caliber, I think you got to take that chance.
Well, there was a guy like that, but it was earlier in his career, and his name was Chris Carpenter, and he got hurt, and Toronto Blue Jays let him go. Cardinals signed him to a couple-year contract. Even being hurt, and he's really paid dividends when he's been able to pitch.
3-2 to Pagan. Boyd dancing off second, not going, and it's ball 4, and the bases are loaded. So Herron, who walks very few, walks his first batter of the night, and now the Mets have their chance to get back into this game here in the 5th inning.
Guys, quickly on Webb, according to Ed Price at AOL Fanhouse, the team said it's good news that he had a cleanup on his shoulder, so maybe not as significant as they once thought it would be. Guys?
And perhaps that will influence the Diamondbacks' decision as well. So now Castillo is at a rough night at the plate so far. 0 for 2, fly down and struck out, bases loaded, 1 out. And Louis takes ball 1.
You see Herron screaming at himself there. He is getting a little bit.
He's not screaming himself. He's screaming at Wolf. He believes that he struck out Pagan on that inside fastball. I thought it was up 2, Keith. But he is pretending as though he's frustrated himself, but he really is mad at Wolf. He thinks those are strikes.
And the curveball in for a strike. 1-1 to Castillo.
He's kind of getting a little strung out here, it seems.
It's not the best kind of body language you want to see from your pitcher. I think that ball is up and around the plate.
Yep. Nope. Good pitch to hit right here. I want Louis swinging, and you can see outfield not shifted over enough. It's a big gap in left center.
Too high, 2-1. Ronnie, what's the feeling like here? You were up 6-0 early. It looked like the other team had no chance against you, and now all of a sudden you've got an inning where the game is more in the balance.
Yeah, I think what happens sometimes is not that you lose concentration, but they get a couple of hits off you, make a mistake with the walk to Pagan when you're up in the count. But you know, it kind of shakes you or startles you back into reality and saying to yourself, well, you know what? I had a 6-run lead here, and I'm in danger of losing this game. My team has staked me to a big lead, so he turned it up a notch last inning. It will be interesting to see if he can do it again.
2-2 to Castillo. Line over short, base hit. That brings home Cora. Here comes Santos. The throw will go to third. A 2-run single for Luis Castillo, and the Mets are right back in this game. It's 6-3 Arizona.
Well, got ahead in the count and ripped this one. And I just felt the center fielder here, Young, should have been more in the gap and almost got by Pata, and he made a nice play to cut it off and prevent Pagan from going to third. And Pagan probably playing it a little safety first. If you're behind, you don't want to run yourself out of an inning.
Castillo, I think, was expecting to get a double out of that.
Well, very interesting that you just take the base hit, take the 2 RBIs, back in it. Maybe David can get a big extra base hit here.
Now the tying run comes to bat in a game the Mets once trailed 6-0. Now it's 6-3 in the 5th. Wright is lined to short and flied to right, 0 for 2. And David attacks the first pitch, a cutter that he fouls on.
Well, Herron's getting a little bit, what we said, he's got to collect himself and get it back in gear. Didn't get a couple close calls and really showing some emotion here. I'm a little bit surprised from the veteran. Let's not forget they play in the desert too. This is a big humid night. He's thrown a lot of pitches.
Little flare into shallow left to fall for a base hit. Pagan around third, races home. Parra's throw to the plate, not in time. David Wright with an RBI single, and now it's 6-4.
Well, he gets jammed here, but muscles it out. And strong throw from Parra. Hits the cutoff man. Castillo can't advance.
Well, luckily that throw was on the mark. Nice tag try by Montero. Good running by Pagan. Good arm by Parra. Not so good by Danny Herron, who did not back up that play.
Four hits in the inning. Now the tying runs on base for Sheffield, and he swings and misses at the cutter. 0-1.
Sheff going for the big bomb there, looking in. Something in, didn't get it.
Gary has been up twice, grounded to short both times.
This would be a good time right now. Sheff had his one big cut, looking in, go the opposite field.
One to Gary. Castillo is at second, right at first. They've combined to drive in 3 runs in this inning to get the Mets to within 2. And that just missed. Another one Herron thought he should have gotten. 2-1. And Ronnie, the more a pitcher displays that kind of body language toward an umpire, is it true that he'll get fewer calls?
Yes, absolutely, and especially Jim Wolf. Jim Wolf has a short fuse. Murphy on deck.
2-1. Sheffield pulls it back.
Oh boy, a hanger right there inside, enough for a crowded Sheffield. Look at this ball. Just stayed in enough. A little bit too quick, Sheffield.
After all these breaking balls, Keith, I think he's going to surprise him with a fastball.
You can see pretty much straight up, respecting the power in the outfield of Sheffield. They're playing deep.
Aaron's already thrown 28 pitches in this inning. And Sheffield bounces one down to third. Reynolds has got it. Out at second. Roberts to first for the double play. That ends the inning. But the Mets get themselves back into the game. They load up the bases for Luis Castillo. And after 2 tough at bats, Louis comes through, drives in a pair. Wright drives home a Angel Pagan pulled up at second base on what Castillo thought should have been a double.
Well, if Cora goes to third, Castillo might get a double out of it depending on where the left fielder throws it, and you're out of that double play situation with Sheffield. But he's clearly upset.
You have to take advantage of, not only was the ball in the gap, but Parra had to go into a slide to keep it in front of him. Once he goes into the slide, there's no shot of throwing Pagan out. Now, I don't know if I agree with you that he thought it should be a double, but Pagan's got to be on third base.
Bobby Parnell comes on to pitch for the Mets in the 6th. But, you know, remember earlier on this homestand, Pagan made an aggressive base running mistake by trying to score on a double steal and obviously got chewed out for it. So maybe that caused him to be less aggressive.
Yeah, you can get gun shy sometimes if you're a younger player.
Yep. Well, Gerardo Parra is already 3 for 3 in this game, a single and 2 doubles. He's scored a run. He's driven in a run. Mets are back in this game. Parnell misses high for ball 1.
Well, there's after Pagan scores. And Cora's having a little veteran chat.
Pagan telling him what he saw, and I think that's a good thing.
It is. You talk it out because, you know, sometimes you think a player should do a certain thing, and once he gives you an explanation, you go, okay, all right, okay, I got you. I know what you're thinking.
Parnell behind his first hitter 2-0, and this has been a theme with Bobby. He's come into games and had trouble throwing strikes to that first batter. Walked his first batter when he came into the 6th inning night before last.
I mean, I can definitely see coming out of the pen in a tough situation and walking the hitter. I would think that most managers would say, though, there's no excuse for walking a guy in 4 pitches. You can't do that when you come out of the pen. And Bobby with a strike there.
And it's too high, ball 4. So again, Parnell's walked his first batter, and now you got the big guys coming up, Upton and Reynolds, with Parra on base. Let's check in with Kevin.
Guys, obviously Bobby having trouble throwing strikes there, but there's been another theme with him as well, and that's throwing inside. On the Mets plane ride from Washington, D.C. to Houston last week on the road trip, Parnell was sitting behind Gary Sheffield and Johan Santana, who were talking a lot of baseball. So Parnell took off his earphones, and then Sheffield got into him a little bit and said, listen, especially the first batter, you've got to throw inside. He said, for me as a hitter, I would eat you alive, and just kind of dissected what he sees from him and really talked to Parnell for a long time and told him why he had to do it that way. So Parnell's lone outing in Houston, he came inside. He hit Miguel Tejada. Didn't want to do that, but he came inside, and then came inside to Carlos Lee, eventually worked him outside and got him to tap into a harmless grounder. Went back to the dugout, and Sheffield just kind of nodded his head. So he's still working on things, but you certainly like the leadership, and you like Sheffield doing that to the young Parnell. It's great stuff.
And, you know, so many players today and kids, they wear the earphones. They kind of like Timothy Leary. They tune out. You know, take those earphones off. You might learn something.
Never did I ever think you would quote Timothy Leary.
By the way, Timothy Leary did not say tune out. He said tune in.
Yeah, tune in.
And then there was the other stuff.
Well, all right, I got it wrong.
You know what?
You get the drift.
Yeah, you got it. Definitely got it.
Drop out.
Tune in, turn on,
right,
drop out. That was Dr. Leary.
Was he a doctor?
Yes, he was.
Berkeley, right?
1-1 to Upton, and a slider in for a strike. Good pitch by Parnell, 1-2.
You know, go back to Kevin's story, Kev. Nice job on that. You can have that tough love from the veterans that really work. I pitched in a game, hung a slow curveball to a right-hander, was out of the game, sat on the bench, and Rusty came by and took his bat and whacked it against my shins, looked me in the eye and said, you don't ever throw a slow curveball to a right-handed hitter.
Caught by Castillo and no throw, as Parra was alert and got back to first. 1 out and 1 on. Time to check in with the studio. Jonas Schwartz standing by with the New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. There's your 6th inning recap. Mark Reynolds 2 home runs tonight, 4 home runs in the series. Mets fight back with 3 in the 5th. Castillo driving in 2, Wright driving in 1. Pagan also has an RBI triple. Now Reynolds up for the 4th time tonight. And he takes off the outside corner from Parnell.
Well, Arizona had the opportunity with a 6-0 score in the third, had second and third, one out, and with their big guns of Upton and Reynolds, and didn't get the runs home.
And Redding wound up retiring his last 8 batters. Big cut by Reynolds, and it's 1-1.
Well, this is the most important inning so far in this game. Good fastball from Parnell. Mets have clawed back to within 2 to not allow these Diamondbacks to score another run.
Yeah, 1.800 slugging percentage at Citi Field for Mark Reynolds.
Is that good or bad? That's good, right?
Yeah.
Never seen that.
That's really right.
Breaking ball in the dirt, 2-1. Well, Reynolds tonight became the 3rd player to hit 2 home runs in a game at Citi Field. Jorge Cantu did it back in April. Chase Utley did it in June, and now Reynolds has joined that pantheon.
Fastball in.
Bounced over the bag, just foul. 2-2. Well, Reynolds came up in the first inning with 1 out and nobody on, and hit his 3rd home run of this series, and then for good measure with a man on in the second.
Well, equal distribution there, left center, right center.
He hasn't had anything cheap yet. Gap to gap. It's a long way. 32 home runs for the year, 73 runs batted in for Reynolds. And he goes down swinging for the second out of the inning. That's the flip side for Reynolds, 144 strikeouts now.
Well, nice job by Parnell. That is his weakness. His hole is up in the strike zone, especially inside. Think of every pitch that he's hit for a home run. They've all been away, sliders or fastballs. Anything middle plate away, he will cover.
So now Miguel Montero, who's 2 for 3 tonight, he homered over the Mo zone in right field in the first inning and singled to right in the second.
Well, Bobby's throwing hard, Ronnie. 95.
Came in a little tentative against Gerardo Parra, but now it's starting to turn it up a notch.
On the inside corner, beautifully done. 0-2.
Good pitch here from Bobby. Good fastball right on that corner.
Parra at first with 2 down. See if he runs here on 0-2.
He shouldn't, not with Montero, who's got some pop.
Keith, you talked about Montero's become a pull hitter. He is, but with 2 strikes, he tends to work the ball towards left center. Keep that ball inside on him.
Montero's become the #1 catcher for Arizona. Chris Snyder, who signed a big 3-year deal after last season, is now the backup.
Identifying what young players to give long-term contracts has become, I think, one of the more difficult things for GMs in baseball today.
Well, Montero was always considered the offensive catcher and Snyder the defensive guy, but the gap has become wide enough if you look at Snyder, and Montero is good enough defensively that they decided to go with that left-handed bat. 0-2 to center field. Pagan back a few strides. Side retired. So after the leadoff walk, Parnell gets the 3, 4, and 5 hitters out. Keeps the Mets within 2. isn't it?
Yes.
Those are some nice smiles. Some of the big Met fans here at Citi Field, and a look at Lady Liberty out in the harbor on a gorgeous night in New York. Never get tired of seeing that. Daniel Murphy leads off the home 6th inning. Mets down 6-4 in a game they once trailed 6-0, and looking to bring the third baseman in. Murphy takes ball 1. Daniels flied out to center and flied out to left. 0 for 2. 3 for 13 in this series.
Aaron is really struggling.
Brian Stokes, the next man up in the Mets bullpen. Mets have to go to the pen in the 2nd inning tonight. Good fastball on the inside edge from Herron. Cutter 2-1. Diamondbacks got 3 in the 1st, 3 in the 2nd. Mets got a run in the 3rd and 3 in the 5th.
Hit in the air to deep right field. Back goes Upton, going back to the warning track at the wall. It's out of here. Daniel Murphy with his 7th home run of the year, and he gets the Mets within a run at 6-5.
Well, he's lost his breaking ball, Ron, and hangs it for Daniel, and boy, he's all over it.
Well, after this first 2 innings when the Mets down 6-0, it was a gut check time for these Mets, and they have responded.
Francoeur pops one up to shallow right center. Roberts out to grab it for the first out.
Oh, there's some happy campers. This night didn't start out very nice.
They kept the faith.
Murphy was the guy who introduced everybody here at Citi Field to the Pepsi porch with the controversial home run he hit, scraping off the subway sign. This time a no doubter over that sign. Now Alex Cora, who's lined out to left and single to left, 1 for 2. So the Mets have turned 6-0 into 6-5. Cora takes a breaking ball for a strike, and Aaron throwing nothing but breaking stuff here in the 6th.
He threw nothing but breaking ball back in the 5th when he got in trouble. He just lost his command of it.
Fastball foul back. 0-2 to Cora.
And let's give the Mets credit here. They've come back 6-0 down. They could have laid down and died, and they have not.
And worth noting about Herron, each of his first 19 starts this year, he pitched 6 innings or more. He went only 5 innings in his last 2 starts, and he's had a history of not pitching as well in the second halves of seasons. So you just wonder whether he might be wearing down a tad.
Well, I think what it tells you is that he's hit a wall, and that'll happen sometimes during the season. His stuff is a little short right now. So 1 inning where you said to yourself, boy, his stuff is good. Here's the pitch count. Not awful.
Well, they threw only 43 pitches in the first 4.
Yeah, well, that was the key.
But last year, his ERA before the All-Star break, 2.27. After the break, 4.18.
Yeah. Just the opposite of the Mets' Johan Santana, who turns it on in the second half.
So the Mets taking some advantage of that. And now down by only a run. 2-2 to Cora. Hit hard, but right at Roberts for the second out. So 2 away. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV. And if you're in the car, listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. Quick series with the Cardinals starts tomorrow night. Great pitching matchup. Johan Santana against a guy who gives the Mets fits, Joel Pinheiro. And Jonathan Neese against Kyle Lohse in the day game Wednesday before the Mets head out to San Diego.
Pinheiro had his best start of the year here at Citi Field. How many ground ball outs did he get that night? 22 or something like that?
Santos hits one toward the hole, smothered nicely by Reynolds from his knees. He got him. A great play by Mark Reynolds, who's made more than his share in this series. Mets get back to within a run, though, as Daniel Murphy pokes one up in the Pepsi.
tomorrow night at 7:10 p.m. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your printed home tickets now. Pitching matchup tomorrow couldn't be better. Pinheiro actually has a better ERA than Santana for the season. Johan 12-8 for the year. 6:30 the coverage tomorrow night on SNY. Cardinals leading the Cubs by a half game starting the night in the National League Central. Could be a virtual tie at the end of the night with the Cubs leading the Reds 3-0 in the 8th tonight.
Well, Cardinals had the day off today, so they probably are already in the city.
I think they're watching us.
Watching us.
Anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Their trainer Barry Wine.
Oh, nice job.
Traveling secretary C.J. Cherry.
There you go.
Hi guys. Ryan Roberts leads off in the 7th inning. Second inning of work for Bobby Parnell, and he moves Roberts back 1-0. And maybe the first time an Arizona hitter is at the lean back tonight. Josh Weitzel on deck, and then Chris Young in the 7th. Diamondbacks had 12 hits in the first 2 and a third innings, and none since. Hit hard over the bag, and now they've got a base hit in the 7th. Chased to the corner by Sheffield, and Roberts heads to second. 11th double of the year for Ryan Roberts, his 3rd hit tonight. So for the 2nd straight inning, they get the leadoff man on against Parnell.
No, a hanging slider right there on the inner half of the plate. Nothing David Wright can do. That's a bullet. Gets on that track down there and rolls to the wall.
A big run out there now in a 1-run ball game. And Josh Weitzel, the batter, has walked twice and struck out.
Well, the ILTV pitch differential, he wanted this ball down and away, and it just stayed right on that inner half, almost like it was set up on a tee. All you have to do is swing at it. Roberts with that double. You have to be careful here with Weitzel. He's a swing and miss guy, but he's got a lot of pop.
Little dribbler foul. 26 home runs in the minor leagues last year for Weitzel. Pedro Feliciano up in the bullpen. And Weitzel hit 28 more this year before being called up. He's 27 years old. He had a good college career at Loyola Marymount, but has always been looked at as sort of a non-prospect despite some big minor league numbers.
Well, he reminds me, there's been a lot of guys. In our day, Keith, there was a guy for St. Louis, Michael Laga, who had a lot of home runs, never could really find his way. Russell Branyan was another guy who now had a nice year in Seattle, but they would routinely hit 35 home runs in the major leagues and not find a slot in the big leagues.
But Jeff Hostetler.
There you go.
On the outside corner, good pitch by Parnell.
You never knew, though, because he would do it in Denver, didn't he? In Mile High Stadium, the ball used to jump out of there.
Didn't Mike Laga hit a foul ball against us at Busch Stadium out of the ballpark over the arches?
Yeah, really?
Yes, the old one.
Yeah, it was all.
I mean, went over the first base dugout. It was just ridiculous. He was a dead pull hitter, dead fastball hitter, and a very stubborn hitter.
1-2. Weitzel pokes one to the left side. Wright holds the runner and gets the first out. So Weitzel unable to advance Roberts. That's a big out for Parnell.
Nice job by Bobby Parnell keeping that ball away. That ball that Laga hit, Keith, was off a rookie pitcher named Darling, by the way.
Was it off you?
Yes.
You remember it then, of course.
And then what happened?
Well, what happened is I was trying. I don't remember, but because I was just shook by what happened. What I was trying to do is I was trying to knock him down. I threw it right at him, but he swung at it. So he hit it before it hit him.
Turned it all the way around. Here's Chris Young, who's 0 for 3 today, 0 for his last 17. And takes a 96-mile-an-hour fastball for a strike.
He just looks very discouraged up there. He's struggling. Danny Herron in the on-deck circle.
Don't you have to tuck your shirt in?
Well, like we talked about it, this is not the NFL. They would have someone on it.
You know how many times in youth sports I was told, tuck your shirt in, son?
That's right. Tuck your shirt in and put your hat on the right way. All those things, right?
Were you just forgetful or being stubborn?
I was very sloppy. I couldn't even get my socks on.
You were running so fast that you just couldn't keep your uniform on.
I don't think that was really the problem. 1-1 to Young.
Ooh, oh, where's that pitch?
Just missed.
Wow.
Perhaps.
Jeez. That's Mees.
That's a perfect pitch. Not to Jim Wolf, though. 2-1 to Young. And the breaking ball down, 3-1. The pitcher Herron is on deck, and Parnell knows that. But you've got an ice cold hitter at the plate. Jim Wolf, brother of a left-hander, and a pretty darn good one.
You know, Chris Young to me is one of those hitters that is just in between right now, and this is the problem when you paint him in a position where he knows what's coming.
Parnell takes a look at Roberts.
If you walk him, it sets up a sacrifice, and I'm sure it'll bring on Feliciano to face the left-hand hitting Drew, but you're putting two men in scoring position.
Parnell behind 3-1. And Young hits one in the air to left center field. Sheffield right there. And there are two out. Young had a big swing at that.
Well, 2 seasons ago, that's a pitch he didn't miss when he hit 32 home runs as a rookie.
Well, he's hitting a lot of balls in the air this series.
Now 0 for his last 18.
And you know what happens, I think, Keith, if you're a young guy and the ball right down the middle and you hit 32 home runs, that becomes, in your mind, you are a home run hitter. Problem is that he does have great pop, but he has great speed. There's a lot of different things he can do, and popping the ball up is not going to be one of his strengths.
So now Herron bats. 3 fly ball outs. The last one well hit to right. He is not an automatic out by any means.
I think the same thing happened, Ronnie, to Jimmy Rollins the year he was in.
Yeah.
He hit the 30 home runs. He has not even come close to that power-wise. He's having a terrific second half so far. But it threw him off out of his game.
Avoid being home run conscious in that ball.
Well, that's part of it, yeah.
The same is true in Arizona. It's a very good home run hitter.
Yes, ball carries there.
What's it better? It's better when the roof is open.
Better for the hitters.
Yeah, hitters.
When the pitchers all want to close. Herron bounces one out to short. Nice big hop for Cora. And he gets Herron to end the inning. So Parnell, after working around a leadoff walk in the 6th, works around a leadoff double in the 7th. That's keeping a 1-run game. run. Time to check out the Mercedes attention assist of the game. Mark Reynolds getting a lot of attention for his home run hitting, but how about the defense? Throwing out Omir Santos to end the 6th inning.
Gold glove play. He's made a couple of nice plays in this ball game. A double play on a tough hop. He not only can hit.
By the way, today is Mark Reynolds' 26th birthday. He is the first player in Diamondbacks history to hit 2 home runs in a game on his birthday. Wow. The only player in Major League history ever to hit 3 home runs on his birthday, Nomar Garciaparra.
Well, you know what's interesting is that if you look at stats, and we tend to not like to strike out, if you look at Ryan Howard and Mark Reynolds, and you look at their strikeouts, you go, boy, I wonder if they're good for your team. Would you take both of them?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, after watching Reynolds play, he's better than his stats.
Yeah.
Because he plays the game hard, and despite all the errors, he plays defense hard, which isn't always true of your big sluggers. Corey Sullivan will pinch hit for the Mets against Herron, who had a 6-0 lead and has seen it melt to 6-5. And Sullivan takes a curveball for a strike. Sullivan had a triple in yesterday's game. In fact, he has 5 hits in his last 12 at bats. Hitting a .267. And he pulls one down to first, and Weitzel handles it for the first down. 1 out and nobody on. And now Angel Pagan, who's had himself a big offensive day, singled and stole a base in the first, tripled to drive in a run in the third, walked and scored in the 5th. That's trying to come back against one of the best pitchers in baseball. Dan Herron with the 4th best ERA in the National League.
Well, he won a career high last year, 16 career high strikeouts with 206.
Juan Gutierrez up in the bullpen for Arizona. Herron still has thrown only 87 pitches in this game, so he should have plenty left in the tank, although certainly the results have not been what he's wanted the last couple of innings. Castillo on deck.
Hey Keith, let me ask you a question. At least a half dozen times in this game, Herron has started left-handed hitter with a little get-me-over curveball. If you were up, is that a pitch you can look for?
Not if it's on the outside corner. You can, certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly.
It's sharply to second. Roberts knocks it down, has time, and throws out Pagan, 2 away.
Roberts could have gotten in front of that ball. He opted the backhand in a tight ball game, and he's lucky he knocked it down. Back to your question here, Ron. You had plenty of time to get in front of that. You can look for it, yes. Do you want to
swing at it?
Swing at it if it's outside corner? Knee high? It's not. Is that a first pitch that you want to swing at?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Roberts, a converted third baseman, maybe used to making that backhand down the line. But you're right, Keith. That's the ball you want to take in your chest if it takes a bad hop. He's always had plenty of time. Louis thinks he was hit by the pitch.
Jim Wolf's not buying it and not asking for help. No, it hit the umpire.
And that's why he's not too happy with Louis trying to get it.
Wait a second. 1-1 to Castillo, who had a big hit in the 5th inning, a bases loaded single that brought in 2 runs. David Wright on deck. He followed Castillo's hit with one of his own. And Louis breaks his bat. It's a slow roller to Roberts, who makes the toss to end the inning. So Herron bounces back with a 1-2-3 bottom of the 7th. On to the 8th now at Citi Field. The Diamondbacks still with a 1-run lead.
about the Jets and the Giants, who are now in football camp. So that would be one of the points I think that would come out on Geico Sports Night.
You stay right up to date with everything, don't you? Pedro Feliciano actually had a day off yesterday after a 5-out performance on Saturday, and on to pitch with the left-hand hitters coming up in the 8th. Stephen Drew has gone 2 for 4 tonight, a single and a double, and he scored a run. Mets fell in an early hole today. Nelson Figueroa got beat up for 6 runs and 10 hits over an inning and 2/3, but the bullpen has been tremendous at keeping the Diamondbacks off the board and giving the Mets a chance to come back. Bouncing ball for Castillo to handle. Feliciano throws 1 pitch and gets 1 out. Time to check in with the studio and Jonas Schwartz for a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. The Cubs, if they win that game, will take a percentage point lead over the Cardinals in the National League Central. Randy Wells, 7 scoreless innings in that game for Chicago. He's pitched very well.
Yes, he has.
Here's Gerardo Parra, who's been on base 4 times in a row, single, 2 doubles, and a walk. Brian Stokes up in the bullpen with the right-hand hitters Upton and Reynolds to follow. Wells a rookie?
Not sure. Thought he was.
He could be in the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Huh? 1-1 to Parra. Really, Parra leads all National League rookies in RBIs. You've got Dexter Fowler, who's stealing a bunch of bases for Colorado, but not much out there. Bouncing ball for Wright to handle, and quickly Feliciano gets 2 outs. Let's see whether Jerry makes the move here or leaves Feliciano in to face Upton.
He's going to stay with him.
Randy Wells is a rookie. Wow. 2.84 ERA coming into today. Best among rookies, just ahead of Jay Happ. And Wells with 7 scoreless tonight for the Cubs.
I think they're stalling for a little bit of time here. Even though Stokes was up earlier. And there's the big guy.
The former Wookiee, is that what you call him?
Well, yeah, he was Chewbacca when he had the long hair and the beard.
John Roush up in the bullpen.
There he is.
Yeah, just to the right of Checkpoint Charlie.
It's just a little game of peekaboo. And here comes Jerry, so he'll make the move and bring in Stokes. So Feliciano got his job done. Threw 4 pitches, got 2 outs. And now Stokes will come in to face the big right-handed bat of Justin Upton. Mets down by a run in the top of the 8th. We'll be right back to Citi Field. Brian Stokes comes on to try and get the final out in the top of the 8th.
Boy, he's got two tough right-handed hitters to face. Hopefully he can get through Upton here and get out of the inning.
And Upton takes a slider for a strike.
I like that he's been using that slider more. Don't you agree, Keith?
He has to. That's the key to his success, is getting that. He gets that pitch over. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Plus the hard fastball. I love this hitter right here.
Ooh, a big rip by Upton on the fastball, and it's 0-2.
How about a 95-mile-an-hour sinker after that slider on the outside black? Two good pitches from Brian. Let's see if he can finish Upton off.
We talked to Brian about the slider. He said he's not doing anything different with it. He's just throwing it more.
I have not seen one pitch thrown up in the eyes of Upton. Let's see if he'll swing when he's down 0-2.
It's sharply, but right at Castillo. Stokes comes in, gets Upton out. A 1-2-3 inning in the top of the 8th. Now the Mets down by a run in the bottom of the 8th will send the heart of the batting order to the plate. To the bottom of the 8th.
Well, he got himself a hold in one of Arizona's wins. You can see his numbers so far this season. Pretty high ERA. He's had a couple of save opportunities, 2 for 3. Not that many strikeouts. 45 and third innings, only 29 strikeouts. Earlier in his career, he was about a strikeout per inning pitched.
This has been the Achilles heel of this Arizona Diamondback team. Their bullpen outside of Qualls has been wonderful, but getting to Qualls.
Yeah.
Well, Roush came in with a 1-run lead in the first game of the series on Friday night and pitched a 1-2-3 inning, but he didn't face David Wright, and David has seen a lot of Roush and done well against him. He's 6 for 12 against Roush, most of that when the big guy was pitching for the Nationals.
I thought Roush that night, Garrett, got away with a couple pitches to hit.
Agreed. They gave up a couple of line drive outs.
David had an RBI single his last time up in the 5th. Mets were down 6-0 in this game, 6-5 now in the 8th. And he takes high from Roush, 1-0. Danny Herron done after 7 innings, 5 runs, 8 hits, a walk, 3 strikeouts, a home run. Leaves with a 1-run lead. And Wright hits one in the air to right center field. Upton a couple of steps back. And there to grab it for the first down.
David threw his bat in disgust. He had a pitch to hit there, just missed it. A little cutter, I think, from Roush up in the strike zone. What do you think, Keith?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and then right there to hit. Right there to hit. And he's under it. And that's the deepest part of the park here outside of center. But right field is much deeper. Plays much deeper than left.
2 home runs, though, have gone in that direction tonight. Montero and Murphy have both hit it out that way. Here's Sheffield is 0 for 3. 3 ground balls, 1 into a double play.
Maybe just because we haven't seen that much of this ballpark, but how many long home runs have we seen in this series with the Diamondbacks? Not only the balls by Reynolds.
Oh, yeah, the Upton ball in the second deck.
Sheffield rips one down the left field line. That's an extra base hit into the corner. Parra plays to Karam,
and Sheffield sliding into second base with a 1-out double. And now the Mets have the tying run in scoring position.
Well, hanging breaking ball here, and he's lucky that Sheff didn't lift it. Look at that level swing. Boy, I love his swing. If he got under that ball, that's a tie ball game.
Well, another cutter, just like the one he threw to David Wright, but this one stayed on that inside corner. And you're right, Keith. Very lucky to get that ball back.
So now Daniel Murphy, who homered into the Pepsi porches last time up, tying run at second and 1 out. And Murph fouls it off, 0-1.
Very surprised that they haven't got a left-hander to bring in here. You see K-Rod getting loose.
Well, they have two lefties in the bullpen, Clay Zavada, who we saw the other night, and the former Met Scott Schoenweiss, who has not worked at all in this series. There's a strike 0-2, and it's the closer Chad Qualls who is up in the 8th inning.
No one guarding the line here. Murphy represents the go-ahead run. First base is guarding the line. We've seen Murph go down that left field line a lot this year. Reynolds not even close to the line.
Raj ahead 0-2. Popped up. Reynolds has room. 2 out. So Raj gets a big out. Now 2 out. Sheffield still at second, and it's left to Jeff Francoeur. Jeff's gone 0 for 3 tonight. He's averaged an RBI per game since joining the Mets. 19 RBIs in 19 games. Trying to make it 20-20 tonight.
This would be the ultimate win friends and influence people, wouldn't it, Gary?
Francoeur, the only Met regular without a hit tonight. Rounded down to third. And Reynolds makes the play. Side retired. Mets waste a 1-out double from Sheffield. And Arizona keeps a 1-run lead as we go to the 9th with Reynolds to lead off for the D-backs in the 9th. The final out of the 8th, and he will face Mark Reynolds leading off in the 9th, trying to shake off the memory of the cannon shot that Reynolds hit against him the other night. Reynolds with 2 home runs in this game on his 26th birthday.
And that was on a fastball away, up in the strike zone. Let's see if Brian starts him with that first pitch slider that has been so effective for him lately.
Mets bullpen has been outstanding tonight. 6 1/3 innings, no runs, 3 hits. And Stokes works him inside, ball 1.
Well, the Mets are playing their 53rd home game, and no Met has hit more than 5 home runs at Citi Field. Reynolds playing his 3rd game, has 4.
Pulls that one foul, 1-1. And if that doesn't say it all about the performance of Mark Reynolds in this series, I don't know what does.
This is by an opposing player the finest offensive output I've seen in a series all year. I mean, this is just incredible what he's done here in these 4 games. Sat out 1 too, right?
Yep. Didn't play yesterday. Good slider by Stokes, and he's ahead 1-2. Behind Reynolds, you've got Miguel Montero and then Ryan Roberts here in the top of the 9th. Gary Manuel saw his team fall behind 6-0 in the 2nd inning today. And there's a call, 3rd strike to Reynolds. Got him looking at a slider, so Reynolds struck out for the 2nd straight time.
Well, nice job by Stokes. That ball stayed in the middle part of the plate, but Reynolds knew right away that it was a strike.
So 1 out and nobody on. And now Miguel Montero, who homered back in the 1st inning off Nelson Figueroa. Also singled in the 2nd. 2 for 4 on the night. In the bottom of the 9th, the Mets will have the lower 3rd of the order coming up. Cora, Santos, and the pitcher spot. Montero fouls it off. You've got Brian Schneider on the bench, the only left-hand hitter, along with Tatis and Baroa from the right side, with Chad Qualls, a right-hander, presumably going to pitch the 9th. Fastball 0-2.
97 miles an hour.
Good run to it too. Running away from the hitter. You can see Montero doesn't get cheated.
Look at that performance by the bullpen. Popped up in foul ground. David Wright has room. 2 away. So Stokes has faced 3 batters and retired them all. That's 8 straight retired by the Mets bullpen since the double by Ryan Roberts in the 7th. 1 of 3 hits for Roberts tonight. The Diamondbacks had 12 hits in the first 2 1/3 innings. Only 1 hit since. And an easy chance for Castillo. A strong inning for Stokes, and now the Mets will try and come from behind in the bottom of the 9th. Down by a run with Cora, Santos in the pitcher's spot due up against Chad Qualls. After the game, get all of tonight's highlights, exclusive interviews, Jerry's post-game reactions as the Mets try and fight from behind on Lincoln Mercury post-game live right after tonight's game and after all 162 Mets games right here on SNY. Jack Qualls on to try and bid for his 20th save of the year for Arizona.
Well, Qualls has blown 4 save opportunities in those 42 games. Came over from Houston. He had some great times in Houston being a setup man, but now is the man, trading places with Jose Valverde, who's gone over to the Astros.
Qualls worked the opening game of this series for Arizona. Remember, he endured the drop pop-up by Reynolds, but then got Angel Pagan to hit into a double play to end the game and protect a 1-run Arizona win.
What you love about Qualls is he is just an Iron Man every single year, 70 or plus appearances. 77, I believe, last year.
As many as 81 one year for Houston. Now 30 years old.
And you can see the corners, not so much in at first base, but third base got to be in, and they're not guarding the lines. Boy, I tell you what, a leadoff double is not what you want in this situation. If you're a Met fan, that's what you want.
Alex Cora has really been swinging the bat well the last few days. He's 1 for 3 today, a couple of line drive outs, has a 6-game hitting streak going, 9 for 20 in those 6 games. Santos to follow, and then the pitcher's spot in the last of the night. Ball starts off with a fastball for a strike.
All right, Keith, let me be devil's advocate because I'm on your side. I always want the guys on the line. But the left fielder plays so shallow when Cora hits. Even if he hit the ball down the line, he might not have a dump.
That's a good point right there, Ronnie. That position of the left fielder right there.
Alex takes it high, and it's 1-1.
I would like to see that it had that left fielder a little bit deeper. You don't want anything over your head right here.
Cora fouls it off, and now Qualls ahead 1-2.
That was a pitch to do it too, wasn't it? Up in the strike zone away. Just beat Alex.
Talking to himself.
Yep. He'll do it to you when you miss those good pitches.
One-two to Cora. Tough man to strike out. Fouls off the slider.
A little bloop by Alex, get on that base, and Mr. Santos behind him has a history of doing pretty well against right-handed closers. He's provided some magic this season already.
And Cora waits off that one right at his feet.
Very defensive swing right there. 2 good hard sliders in, and just staying alive in this at bat.
Jack Qualls, part of a National League Championship team in Houston in 05, and pitched brilliantly in the postseason that year. Again, the 1-2 to Cora. Bouncing ball, and Roberts into play. 1 out in the last of the ninth. Now Santos has had a good game with the bat. A long double to left in the 3rd. A single to center in the 5th, and then was robbed of a base hit by Mark Reynolds, who made a diving stop in the hole in the 6th.
And the outfield defense, it's the most important part of the game right now from the Arizona Diamondback point of view. You don't want to get anything over your head.
Santos takes a strike. Fernando Tatis has come out on deck to bat for the pitcher. So Jerry opting for the power of Tatis against the left-handed bat of Schneider.
Oh, good slider. Qualls has an excellent slider tonight.
What do they used to call that, Keith? A snapdragon. And look, that just no chance. Wow.
So now Santos down in the count 0-2. K-Rod hoping the Mets can tie it and give him the 10th inning. 0-2. Bounce foul. Santos provided the Mets' most memorable ninth inning comeback of the season when he homered against Jonathan Papelbon at Fenway Park. Tatis shadowing him on deck.
Trying to get a little timing.
Struck him out. Balls get Santos, and the Mets are down to their final out.
Well, I don't want to say that this is like an old Houston Astros teammate of his, but that slider is very Lynch-like, isn't it?
Yes. Very good, Ron.
So Tatis, the final hope for New York. Fernando has already had one enormous hit on this homestand. A pinch hit grand slam that won a game against Colorado. His first ever at bat against Chad Qualls. And he takes ball one inside. If Tatis can get on, Angel Pagan would be next. Mets have fought back from 6-0 to 6-5, but now they're on the brink of dropping 3 out of 4 to the D-backs. Popped up. Roberts with the angle, and the ball game is over, and the Mets comeback falls short, and the Diamondbacks take 3 out of 4 in the series and drop the Mets to 4-4 on this homestand.
Well, Danny Herron just outlasted the Mets, giving up 5 runs.